mundo, bienvenido a mi canal. Yo me llamo Sire. Soy una abogada afro-latina licenciada practicando la ley criminal, pero como todos ustedes, a mí me fascina cuando estamos hablando de casos de crímenes reales. En este video vamos a hablar del caso de Tynesha McCarty-Wroten. Si quieren más videos, poner nomás dime allá abajo. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree. I'm a licensed and practicing Afro-Latina criminal attorney who, much like the rest of you, has a severe fascination with true crime cases. Listen, you guys, catch a vibe, okay? Before we get into this video, just catch a vibe. I think this is gonna be my setup for YouTube videos moving forward. It's kind of bare and it's kind of plain, but there's so much stuff surrounding me, you just can't see it because I don't know if I want to let you guys see it, you know? In some of the future videos, you might see my computer, desktop, monitor, or you might see the couch that's in here. You might see the desk, or you might see a little rug or something like that, a plant or something. But for the main part, for the most part, this is the setup moving forward. So catch a vibe, okay? Finally got it set up in my new place. Second, this case came to my radar relatively recently, and I know I say that in an abundance of my other videos, but honestly, it did. And I just knew I had to share it with you guys. This is a case of when seeking validation from complete strangers on the internet goes completely wrong. I'm not going to describe it any further. Let's just go ahead and get into it. This is the case of Tynesha McCarty-Wroten. So some of you guys may be familiar with her, but I'm not. So if I'm mispronouncing her last name, please feel free to correct me on the pronunciation in the comment section. But it's my understanding that Tynesha McCarty-Wroten is a 43-year-old TikTok creator who decided one day online validation was more important than community safety. If you're really big into TikTok, unlike myself, you may have heard of this lady before. Apparently, she used to go by the user handle Tea Time, and I'll spell it on the screen right here for you to see. But that TikTok account has since been deactivated, so I have no idea who she was. On November 3rd of 2025, Tynesha was driving herself and her grandchild while also live streaming on TikTok. In the reports that I've read, they've kind of differed on the age of her grandchild, but I think it's safe to say that this child was anywhere from the ages of 7 and 8 years old. If I didn't already say this in the video, maybe I thought it and I meant to say it out loud, but long story short, I'm not a huge TikToker, but it's my understanding that the platform does have different preventative measures in place to prevent people from live streaming while they are driving. Unfortunately, Tynesha was able to bypass those preventative measures, I think by use of a green screen in her background, and that's when all of this occurred. Around 5:45 p.m. on that date that I just told you, November 3rd of 2025, Tynesha and her grandchild were driving around as Tynesha was live streaming, and then all of a sudden, she sporadically blurted out, "I hit someone." It was at that point that Tynesha immediately cut off the live stream, and her viewers were no longer able to see or decipher what was going on. Again, I'm not huge into TikTok and I've never heard of this woman before, so I'm not sure what kind of platform she had, if she was a big creator or if she wasn't. It doesn't excuse the behavior, but there was someone in a comment section somewhere that said she was live streaming to about 4 people, which is it's just all bad. She was live streaming at an intersection near Zion, Illinois, and the person that she did hit, as she already stated, was a 59-year-old man named Darren Lucas. Darren was ultimately taken to the hospital and later pronounced dead. Authorities stated that when Darren made contact with Tynesha, he was merely walking home from his job at a nearby grocery store. Now let's talk about the police response in this case. So to Tynesha's credit, just a smidge, she called the police and she remained on scene for their arrival. That doesn't excuse any of her actions prior to that. I'm just letting you know how the police responded. When police did respond, Tynesha was somewhat cooperative in that she provided them a statement, and she said that she thought the light was green when she entered the intersection, and she didn't notice Darren until it was far too late. Tynesha did submit to blood and alcohol testing. Now, I'm not expecting the entire test results to be available online for obvious reasons, but I wasn't able to see whether or not she had alcohol or any sort of substances in her system. But for purposes of this story, I'm going to assume she did not. So despite providing them a statement, and despite the fact that she submitted to testing, she refused to let law enforcement search her phone. As part of their ongoing investigation, law enforcement was able to gather surveillance footage, which did indeed show that Tynesha did not have a green light when she entered the intersection. Her light was in fact red, and it was at that point, after she blew a red light, that she struck the victim in this case. I know this next statement is going to feel like we're playing semantics, but it's kind of our job as lawyers, and I'll be the first one to admit that to you. But Tynesha's attorney, Jed Stone, stated that when Tynesha struck Mr. Lucas, he was wearing dark-colored clothing, and the general area was dimly lit. Additionally, Tynesha's attorney stated that even though police feel that Tynesha ran a red light, there was an independent witness there who would testify to the exact opposite. Days after the accident, the Zion County Police Department was contacted by multiple different people who told them that Tynesha was in fact live streaming at the time that the crash took place. Viewer discretion is advised.
I don't know, it was weird, like, so... Let me call you right there. Oh.
What's that? Okay.
After the report from numerous concerned citizens, Tynesha eventually surrendered her phone, and law enforcement conducted a forensic examination of it. That examination proved that the video was in fact created during the date and time that the crash took place. So one day before Christmas Eve, and on Tuesday, December 23rd of 2025, an arrest warrant was issued for Tynesha's arrest, and law enforcement was able to find her within a couple of hours, holding grocery bags, or different types of bags, better yet, outside of her home. Her charges were reckless homicide and aggravated use of a communication device resulting in death. So here's my understanding of what happened after the arrest. It's my understanding that pursuant to the arrest warrant, a no bond hold was issued. It's also my understanding that after that, she saw a judge. The judge set a bond and she posted the bond. So it's my understanding that Tynesha is now released, awaiting disposition of these charges. But let's get into what those charges actually mean. Illinois Statutes Chapter 720, Criminal Offenses, Section 5(9)(3), define involuntary manslaughter and reckless homicide. A person commits reckless homicide if he or she unintentionally kills an individual while driving a vehicle and using an incline in a roadway, such as a railroad crossing, bridge approach, or hill, to cause the vehicle to become airborne. It further states that reckless homicide is considered a Class 3 felony. Before we move on to the next charge, let me just stop and explain that to you. So my understanding of reckless homicide is that the prosecution would have to prove in Illinois that Tynesha was driving her manner in such a reckless way that it contributed to the death or caused the death of Darren Lucas, to simplify things, right? So when Tynesha's attorney speaks out and he says, well, the area was dimly lit and Mr. Lucas was wearing dark-colored clothing, it might sound insignificant just him saying that, but think about it. He's trying to show that she didn't act recklessly. She did not act recklessly. These are factors she couldn't have foreseen, basically, is what he's saying. But let's also talk about the penalties associated with it. So in my mind, first thing that triggers, and I know this might be upsetting to some, if not most, is the fact that this is not a mandatory prison case. This is not a mandatory prison charge. So what I mean by that is, based on my reading of the statute and my understanding of the statute, Tynesha would actually still be eligible for probation. That is infuriating. Anytime someone has lost their life, to just be disregarded with, oh, she's a first-time offender, what have you. But I'm just letting you know that it's a possibility here. Let's carry on into the second charge, however. Illinois Statutes Chapter 625 define crimes with electronic communication devices. A person may not operate a motor vehicle on a roadway while using an electronic communication device, including using an electronic communication device to watch or stream video, participate in a video conferencing application, including but not limited to Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or WebEx, or access any social media site, including but not limited to Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, or Twitter. Further, a person commits aggravated use of an electronic communication device when he or she violates subsection B, and in committing the violation, he or she is involved in a motor vehicle crash that results in great bodily harm, permanent disability, disfigurement, or death to another, and the violation is a proximate cause of the injury or death. Lastly, a violation of this section is an offense against traffic regulations governing the movement of vehicles. A person who violates this section shall be fined a maximum of $75 for a first offense, $100 for a second offense, $125 for a third offense, and $150 for a fourth or subsequent offense, except that a person who violates subsection B5 shall be assessed a minimum fine of $1,000. Now let's decipher that as well. So basically what that means is, this is a traffic offense. It's not a misdemeanor, it's not a felony. This is considered a traffic offense. Now, as far as the fines are imposed because she violated subsection B5, which is the section that says that she caused the death of another, or her electronic communication use was the proximate cause of the death of another, she's going to be assessed $1,000. Just some of my preliminary thoughts about that statute as we were reading through it. If you guys will notice, it didn't say TikTok, and here specifically Tynesha was streaming on TikTok. Do I think that causes any sort of issues in the prosecution's case? Not at all. Not in the slightest. Why is that? Well, because it listed the ones, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, but it also said, including but not limited to. I think that it was probably just written before TikTok was around. I still think she could be convicted of this crime. This was a rather interesting tale, and it's a tale of woe, and I don't want to bring Tynesha's age into it, but I will bring her responsibility. She had a responsibility to not only keep her grandchild safe and not live stream as she's driving, but also to the community at large. I think a lot of us take driving for granted because it's something we just do instinctually. But you are responsible every time you get behind the wheel of that car to ensure the safety of yourself and the safety of others. My heart goes out to Darren Lucas's family, his community, his friends, his support system, and we'll just see what happens from here. It's my understanding that the next court date in this case is a hearing scheduled on January 27th of 2026. So just a few more weeks. We will touch base on this case if you guys want at that point. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and your continued support. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, y'all take care.